Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Morning, everyone. Ray Flowers, FantasyGuru.com. I don't know if the vent is going to make an appearance today. We are still in the zone where Microsoft has taken over for Logitech, and I can't control my Logitech camera unless I use the Microsoft app. So I don't know. I had to dumb down the resolution because if I go to 1080 to make my face really clear, then the vent shows. But now we're in 720, so I think we're okay. I don't know. We'll see if it goes today for once. Just like last Friday, actually. Sometimes the technology is my fault. It ain't my fault today. I've tried. Let's see if we can make it work. Again, I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Thanks for joining me here on Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. We're with you Monday through Friday. And today is obviously Monday. Hope you had a nice weekend. Hope you had a lot of success in fantasy. Got a chance to get out with your family. Maybe you started planning for the holidays. I've now got 3 of my 5 Christmas trees up in the house, ready to rock and roll, trying to get in the spirit, hopefully wherever you are. And whatever you celebrate, you're in a good spot too. Many things to talk about today, but today is focused primarily, let me throw it up on the screen. You know, it's a Monday, it's game action. We're going to go game by game. What happened, what didn't happen, who got hurt. Excuse me, what do you need to know? What don't you need to know? If you don't need to know, I probably won't say it. But if you need to know, I'll say it. We'll go game by game, team by team for all the Sunday action. Monday is the only day of the week where it's just me. On Tuesdays, it's me and Armando Marsal. Wednesdays, it's Justin Fensterman and Rich Mileto. Thursdays, it's me and Tyler Beaker. Fridays is me and Russell Clay. All of those guests the next 4 days come on about 30 minutes into the show, about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Today, it's just me rambling on, so hopefully you enjoy that. Hopefully you're enjoying it as a podcast. You can just go to FG, click the subscribe, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. Doing that will allow you the ability to listen to a podcast, right? Just all the shows are cataloged there. You can type in Fantasy Sports Daily, whether you're listening on YouTube Music, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Pandora. Type in Fantasy Sports Daily, and you can get the information on the show in podcast form there. Then there's the 3 ways that you're all aware, and I see a bunch of people already talking to each other in the Discord. I love that. Today is thank you, Doc. Appreciate it. Yeah, you can leave comments and questions if you're watching in one of 3 places: youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite. You can also watch the show, obviously, there on demand because it's cataloged as it is. In the other couple spots, in this instance, you can see me in my face and maybe even the air vent that pops up. You never know. You just never know. And by the way, before we even get into the game action, I was looking at this. I'm in one single league where we still use defenses. I think defenses should be outlawed in fantasy football. We don't use team pitching, even though we talk about it all the time. I run polls on team quarterbacks. People don't want to do that. But we do team defense. It's stupid. We should either do IDP or no defense. That's my position. And again, I'm in a bunch of leagues. There's only one league that uses the defense. The one league that uses the difference is the FSGA league. And you tell me if this makes sense. Okay. My opponent, and I won my matchup this week. I actually almost doubled my opponent. Let me look at it. I did double my opponent's score this week. So this is not sour grapes. Okay. I had a huge week. I had my best overall week of the season. It helped that I went to Michael Wilson, taking the place of Garrett Wilson, who I lost. But anyway, on defense, the Atlanta Falcons had 5 sacks. Okay. They also allowed 440 passing yards to Bryce Young, an all-time franchise record. We'll talk about this game obviously coming up. An all-time franchise record ever in the history of the Panthers. They allowed 30 points and a quarterback to throw for a franchise record like 440 yards. They got 5 points. I had the Rams. The Rams won a football game. They held their opponent to 19 points, which is not even 2/3 of the points that the Falcons allowed. The Rams, by the way, picked off Sam Darnold 4 times. They forced a fumble as well. My defense got how many points? 8. The other team, the Falcons, got 5. The Falcons had 5 sacks. They gave up 500 plus yards of offense, 30 points, and they got 5 points. My Rams gave up 19 points, had 4 interceptions, forced a fumble, and gave up 8 points. What are we doing? What? So anyway, absolutely stupid. Just stupid. Yeah. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Whether you agree or disagree, uh, we should not be using a team defense. No, 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 no. All right, let's get into it here. The final game across the ocean that no one saw because no one gets up before the sun. Dolphins defeated the Commanders 16-13. This one was notable for a couple of reasons. One, Adebo Samuel finally had a big game, 7 for 74 and 1, a nice game there. Terry McLaurin's still missing game action. Obviously, McCaffrey is down. They lost Treylon Burks, who'd become a thing. So that it was a lot of Deebo Samuel doing his thing. Zach Ertz was fine, 4 for 42, didn't do anything. Could have had a couple of touchdowns. Had a big game. He was just fine. Mariota was fine, 213 and 1, ran for 49 yards. He actually was my quarterback in that FSGA league because I had Jaden Daniels. And then I went to Justin Fields, and now I'm left with Marcus Mariota. Again, Mariota's fine, nothing fancy here. The big storyline probably with this team is the fact that Chris Rodriguez, who'd been dealing with a shoulder injury coming in, took over the backfield. A JCM, Bill Croskett Merritt, has been the lead back for this team, the nominal lead back for this team. Still involved yesterday a little bit. McNichols was still on the field. Rodriguez, though, is the guy right now. And this is one of those scenarios where we've said it a lot. The Commanders don't really have a running back. It's running back by committee, which teams do. If it's 2 guys, it's okay. If it's 3 guys like it's been with the Commanders, it's tough. Maybe Rodriguez is starting to distance himself. He had 15 carries for 70 yards yesterday. He's scored touchdowns. He's had 3 touchdowns last 5 games, something like that. I'm not looking at it right now. But he's trending upward for sure. Krotsky Merritt is trending down. Rodriguez is now the back to own in this backfield. Though again, good question here. Scott says, do we see Daniels back or just going to be sat for the rest of the year? Well, the Commanders are 3-8. And I don't know the answer. Okay. In the FSGA league where I have Daniels, I dropped him. So, and again, that's a 14-team league. If I'm not keeping it in a 14-team league, they could bring him back. There's no point to bring him back. They're not making the playoffs. If they want to bring him back to make sure he's healthy and feels good, maybe, But with all the injuries around and what they're dealing with and the record, it's tough to think that he's for certain going to get back out there. By the way, Scott agrees with me on my team defensive take. I appreciate that. It looks like Doc does too. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense on defense. It doesn't, but yet it happened. Miami, Devon Achane. Miami's on a bye this week. One of the 4 teams on bye this week. Achane ran for 120 yards. He caught 5 passes for 45 yards. He's the entirety of the offense yet again. Boy, is he having a banging season. And if it wasn't for a guy like Christian McCaffrey, Devon Achane, I mean, he's basically McCaffrey light, very much light. Like he's right on his heels. First time in his career, I think he's had 20 carries in back-to-back games. Nice to have a bye week here. Workload's getting a little bit substantial here for Achane. We'll see how things go. Unfortunately, the touch on the ground went to Gordon. Tua Tagovailoa predictably didn't do anything. Jalen Waddle didn't do anything. Malik Washington didn't do anything. Really, at this point, you know the deal. You start Waddle, you start Achane, and that's it with the Miami Dolphins. Next up, speaking of that Carolina-Atlanta game, lots of things going on here right now. Drake London suffered a sprained PCL. So that means that he is going to miss almost certainly at least 1 game. And that's a massive blow for the team from Atlanta because of the fact that London's catching 6 passes for 100 yards like every game. And it's clear that he is the weapon on offense for this team. They hit, Mooney's just a guy. They've involved Pitts here and there. But I see a comment here about Penix. I haven't seen an official update on Penix yet. I saw a comment in the Discord. I'm looking right now as we're doing the story. Maybe we'll get the full update. Last I've seen officially, and if someone has a link, Penix out for the season. See, I'm seeing this, and I'm doing a show, so it's really hard for me to view this. But I'm not seeing it officially reported. The bottom line is Michael Penix hurt his knee, and like the play where he hurt his knee. So I don't know. Okay, you heard an update. Yeah, I'm not seeing the report from Adam Schefter was that it's potentially season ending. But I have not seen, as I'm talking with all of you here, a report saying it is season ending. It's the potential to be season ending, but it has not been officially reported yet. But we'll see with Michael Penix. Bottom line is he hasn't done much of anything. Kirk Cousins took over yesterday for the Falcons, wasn't able to lead the team to victory. Cousins at quarterback, I don't think it's appreciably different than Penix. But the Falcons' offense is bankrupt without London. They don't have anybody else at the wide receiver spot. Mooney is just a guy. Hodge is going to have to step up. He didn't do anything until he hasn't really done anything. He had one target yesterday. Davis Sills. I mean, they don't have anybody. So it's going to have to be a lot of the backs. That's going to have to be the plan. Bijan yesterday got in the end zone a couple of times. Tyler Jones scored a touchdown. Didn't do anything. Algier has become Mr. Tight End Vulture. Bijan has had a great season. He could be having a special season. Algier just keeps getting these touchdowns, even though he's not really doing anything. 3 carries for 10 yards in the touchdown, but he got in the end zone. Manny says, is Bill droppable? I mean, at this point, depends what direction you're going, Manny, but hard not to say, yeah. He hasn't done anything in a month and a half anyway, and barely saw the field yesterday. By the way, here's Angela saying, so far I've heard 2 analysts apologize for telling people to sit Tet. Another told his wife to drop Bryce Young. Well, dropping Bryce Young is fine. Bryce Young did have a massive game yesterday, 448, 3 touchdowns. He also hurt his ankle about 17 times, I think was the official count yesterday. Looked like he was dead about 9 of those 17 times. Somehow threw for 448 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's okay. The numbers were great. The performance, I guess, gutty, but this is not repeatable. There's nothing outstanding here. Ted McMillan went for 8, 130 and 2. No one should be benching Ted McMillan, right? Like Ted Aroa, he doesn't like Ted apparently. Let me pull up the rankings so I can make sure that I'm not speaking at my rear end, but I'm pretty sure we had him at ranked McMillan 20th, something like that this week. He's one of those guys. I was talking to somebody in Discord over at fantasyguru.com as well. This is a hard thing to do while you're talking to someone in Discord over at fantasyguru.com, and they were going to make a trade with him, and they were kind of like, well, he's good, but it was a dynasty scenario, and I'm like, whoa, we have to reassess here. He's not just good, he's a banger. I think we have him at 13 overall in the dynasty rankings. Russell Clay does those. So we all have to understand who McMillan is. McMillan we had ranked 19th this week, so obviously not a benchable piece. Huge game, 8 for 130 and 2 there. Xavier Legette got hurt late, so we'll have to follow his status, but he had 4 for 83 and 1. 45 passes is not going to happen again with the Panthers. 448 yards is not going to happen again. 348 yards probably not going to happen again. He would love to average 248 yards. He's not even going to average 248 yards a game for Young. So be cautious going too heavily in for the passing attack here. Dowdle didn't do anything. He had 90 yards. He had 100 yards from scrimmage. Didn't get in the end zone. At least he caught 5 balls, so some coverage there in a PPR setup. But it was basically spread all around there for the Panthers. And they won the football game 30-27. And they're back in the playoff hunt. Falcons at 3-7, they're done. Panthers at 6-5 are in the playoff hunt. They're one and done if they make the playoffs, but they're in the hunt, so I guess good for them. Tampa Bay Buffalo. Buffalo wins this game by 12, 44-32. This game I think had like 8 changes of score, right? Something like that. It was back and forth. The Bills kind of pulled away late. The fact of the matter is that when you look at this game action here, Irving and Godwin seem very close to a return. Neither one was active last week or yesterday. So that opened up the ground attack for Rashad White and Sean Tucker. Tucker, somebody we've talked about a lot at fantasyguru.com. Jeff Mans has talked about him repeatedly in the show. We've had him listed in articles. White had 12 touches for 62 yards. Yeah, that's about what Rashad White is. Unfortunately, only 2 catches. But it was Sean Tucker day, man. Sean Tucker, 2 catches for 34 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yes, that's 3 touchdowns for Sean Tucker. If Sean Tucker's on the waiver wire, everyone's going to get excited, even though he should have been added last couple of weeks. But the problem is Bucky Irving seems like likely at this point, probable, 50-50, 60-40 to actually play. If he does, Tucker and White, nah. So be very cautious again when adding Tucker if he's on the waiver wire. Don't be bidding. Don't be spending high priority off that waiver wire if that's how you do it, because Bucky Irving seems to be very close to returning, and he will obviously take back over the backfield. From the passing perspective, Ibuka, 5 for 40, he's kind of been where he's been. He was having tremendous success early on. Everyone got excited. He's been fantastic for the season. He's been special for a rookie. But having Godwin and or Evans there to get defensive attention away from the rookie is important. And we're seeing that. He's still effective, Ibuka, but he's not putting up these big gains anymore. 5 for 40 yesterday, 9, 10, 12 points, kind of, It's just kind of how it's been. And again, this is not. It's a long season. He's never played this many games before. They're throwing coverages at him he's never seen before. He can't out physical guys like he did in college. And you look at Ibuka here. I mean, it's his last 5 games in a PPR setup. He's been under 10 points 4 of 5 games. Yeesh, that's yeah. When Sterling Shepard leads your team in yardage, 4 for 54 yards, you're probably going to lose. The Buccaneers did lose. On the Bill side, obviously the storyline is Josh Allen, who I heard Jeff Mann's TikTok video last night. Jeff Mann's does a TikTok video on Friday nights. Armando Marsal writes the breakdown of the game action Sunday nights. This show is 12 to 1 Eastern, Monday through Friday. On Mondays, we spend an hour going through the game action on Sunday. Jeff Mann's then, his show's Elite Sports on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. His show will then, an hour after this one, he'll spend 3 hours doing it. So we have Jeff's TikTok video last night, Armando's article last night, this show with me on Monday mornings, and then Jeff's 3-hour show on Monday from 2 to 5 on SiriusXM, reviewing all of the game action from Sunday. I'm not here on Wednesdays, as you all probably are aware by now. I'm with Jeff on Wednesdays from 2 to 5. The big storyline for the Bills is Josh Allen, and as Jeff noted on his TikTok video last night, Allen really didn't play great, and I would agree with that assessment. That interception, one of the 2 interceptions he threw from the goal line when he did like the chest pass, oh, what a horrible decision. And, he's so great that in the end, he still went for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then had 3 rushing touchdowns as well. The only quarterback to go 3 touchdowns passing and receiving in the same game is Josh Allen. He's done it twice in his career. So it was a massive, 50-point fantasy game. Massive fantasy game. Didn't play that great, which is something. Keon Coleman was inactive for not showing up to a team meeting. There's that. We'll see what the long-term impact is there. Gabe Davis came off the practice squad to catch 3 for 40 yards. Unclear if Davis will be in the lineup moving forward or if he was only in the lineup because Coleman was out. Terrell Shaver stepped up, led the way, 4 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown because there were targets. He only got 5 targets, but there were targets available with Coleman out of the game. James Cook only ran for 48 yards, but he got in the end zone as a pass catcher. Ty Johnson only touched the ball 3 times. He got in the end zone as a pass catcher. Dawson Knox was a huge disappointment for those people that picked him up, hoping he would do a impersonation of Dalton Kincaid, who's never going to be Dalton Kincaid, but an impersonation of him. He didn't do that at all. He caught 1 ball for 23 yards, so a terribly disappointing effort there. But an even bigger disappointment was Khalil Shakir, who is beat up physically. You can see it. We know it. We've seen it for a couple of weeks now. 1 catch after 3 consecutive games with 6, 6, and 7, or 6, 7, and 7. 3 straight games with 6 catches. He had 1 catch yesterday. So despite 44 points, despite the massive game for Josh Allen, still a lot of uncertainty with the Bills and what they got going on. Where there is certainty, though, is with us at fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. If you do that, you can sign up for the football product. And remember, the football product is everything football. It's college football. It's the NFL. It's all the seasonal coverage we have. It's all the DFS coverage we have. It's all the betting coverage we have. That's a lot of stuff. You get access to every Discord room for all 3. You get access to every article for all 3. You get access to the live streams. You get access to the podcasts, the rankings, the projections, all of that for NFL and college football for the rest of the season. All 3 for the price of $199.99. I don't know how long this is going to last, right? And remember, each of these products is like a $200. It's like a $600 package. And we're talking about $100 for the rest of the season. Get in now. See what we have to offer if you haven't already subscribed at fantasyguru.com. Again, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Send an email to support@fantasyguru.com. If you have any questions, maybe you've already got the seasonal and you want to add DFS. Maybe you've got DFS and you want to add wagering. Send an email to support@fantasyguru.com. Join us, largest active community in fantasy sports. Join us over at FG. We'd really like to have you there moving forward. All right, let's go back to our discussion. Next game up is the Chargers and the Jaguars. The Jaguars moved to 6-4. The Chargers fall to 7-4. Chargers are off this week. We're hoping to get Amari Hampton back next week. Kamani Vidal was beat up. He didn't play a ton yesterday. So timing of the bye is really good for the Chargers, and they got to figure this thing out because they got stomped by the Jaguars 35-6. And it was so bad they just pulled Herbert from the game, getting beat up. Not good. Okay, just not good. Herbert didn't do anything. I mean, bottom line is no one did anything. You're looking at the box score here. Keenan Allen, 4 catches for 53 yards. was about the only passable option of the whole team. Every player was let down, all of them. Gadsden was 2 catches for 41 yards, a terribly disappointing game. The good news, because of the concerns with his health, is he played 95% of the snaps. Like, he was on the field the whole time. So Gadsden, clearly his hamstring's not a big deal. Very positive news for the future. But the Chargers are going to have to use this bye and figure things out. Still 7-4, still looking great to make the playoffs, all that kind of stuff. But that was just bad yesterday. Nothing positive to say about that other than Gadsden being healthy. On the other side, the Jaguars, you scored 35 points. You expect some huge efforts. There weren't. The big storyline was actually the backfield. Byshell Tootin was killing it. He actually led the team with 74 rushing yards, one more than Etienne. He had 74 rushing yards and a touchdown. He was running hard. He was running aggressive. He was breaking tackles. He was pushing piles. He looked good. Got hurt. Etienne ended up with 73 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, including one late in the game. That probably would have gone to Tootin. I don't know. So Etienne ended up having a very solid game because he got in the end zone twice. Didn't catch a pass, though. So he's just not involved there. Again, the Jaguars scored 35 points. Trevor Lawrence threw 22 passes. 1 touchdown. He ran for 1. Good for him. But 1 touchdown pass. A touchdown pass going to Tim Patrick. Jacoby Myers played more. Led the team with 5 catches for 64 yards. So he was fine. That was it. Brian Thomas didn't play. Tootin got hurt. That's kind of the storyline here. We'll have to follow the Tootin information. If not, LaQuint Allen, who had 8 carries for 36 yards, depending upon what's going on with Tootin, because Allen's going to be on every waiver wire. If Allen's on the waiver wire and we hear bad news about Tootin, he's going to be a substantial pickup here, just in case something were to happen to Etienne. The Bears defeated the Vikings 19-17. Again, I'm Ray Flowers of FG. Follow me on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all those places at the Ray Flowers. The Bears moved to 7-3 as the Vikings fall to 4-6. The Bears are starting to solidify a playoff run here. The Vikings are kind of on life support. The Bears won this game. They grinded it out. Cairo Santos, with no time left on the clock, the last play of the game, kicked a game-winning field goal. Caleb Williams is leading the team and making big plays at important times, but overall has been 16 for 32 indoors yesterday. That's really bad. Now, again, the Vikings have a solid defense, but Williams, at least he didn't throw an interception or make a huge blunder, but he's not doing much. He's been disappointing. He's been fine. Again, he's been fine. Did we hope at FG? Did I hope he'd be better than fine? Absolutely. So he's been a disappointment in fantasy, but 5 of the last 10 games here, he throws for 2 touchdowns and 250 yards. He'll be okay, right? So it's not sexy or exciting. He'll be okay. The problem is that we see a very diverse group of pass catchers for the Bears. At one point, Adunze was killing it. He, 2 catches, 41 yards yesterday. Williams missed him a couple of times. The leading pass catcher yesterday in terms of receptions and yards was Cole Kmet. It was 5 for 45. Loveland had 3 for 40. It's another scenario, like 8 of his 16 completions went to the tight end. Okay, but you got Adunze. You got Moore. You got Zacchaeus. You got Burden. And half your passes are going to your tight ends. Speaking of the changing of the guard, we started seeing it yesterday. Now, we talked about this on the show last week. Jeff Mans talked about it repeatedly on the show yesterday or last week as well, especially given my input because of all the questions we were getting in Discord. As I said repeatedly last week, as Jeff said repeatedly last week, it's Luther Burden time. And Luther Burden blasted past Olamide Zacchaeus yesterday. Zacchaeus didn't even see a target, played like 10 snaps. Burden was on the field all the time. Burden replaced Zacchaeus last week, which is really good news. Now, the second part of the advice that we gave all last week was you can't start Luther Burden. Hopefully you didn't start Luther Burden. I got the sense that a lot of people heard what Jeff said and were like, oh, Luther Burden to the moon. 5 targets, 3 catches, 27 yards. In the context of where he was at, it's a pretty good effort. So like I said to multiple people in Discord when they asked, should I add this guy? Yes, add this guy, but he's nowhere near a starter. He's still nowhere near a starter, but the great news is it's 1 game, but he did completely replace Olamide Zacchaeus, who again was barely on the field. So Burns the wide receiver 3 for this team. There's hope that pickup last week or the pickup this week, if he's still out there, will lead to some payoff in the future. We'll see on that. On the ground, Monungai got in the end zone again. We're starting to get a lot of Gibbs Montgomery here, and I hate making that parallel, but we're starting to see a lot of it where Monungai doesn't really do anything. 12 for 23 yards. Nah. but he gets the ball at the goal line. He got the touchdown. DeAndre Swift, 21 carries, 90 yards. He was fine. Unfortunately, lost the touchdown to Monangai. On the Viking side of things, three storylines. One, the Vikings have to do a better job of catching the ball. Two, we know who the running back is here without question. And three, this passing attack is stuck in neutral. Addison had a touchdown yesterday, almost won the game with that late touchdown. But he had 2 catches on 7 targets for 20 yards and a score. Dropped multiple passes right in his hands. Got to be better. Hawkinson, 3 catches for 39 yards. Dropped at least 1. We might be able to say 2. He dropped the pass. Justin Jefferson went 5 for 61 and was visibly angry / frustrated because J.J. McCarthy, we said it here on the show previously, J.J. McCarthy has no chemistry, if that's even really a thing. It is, but has no chemistry with Justin Jefferson at all. If you watch this game yesterday, he was zinging balls over Justin Jefferson's head. I mean, like 4 feet over his head. Just zinging balls. The problem for this offense overall is that J.J. McCarthy right now is not good. Now, he's not even played half a season of games. He's technically year 2, but we all know he's a rookie. He's been hurt this year. He's in a rough spot, right? But he has not played well. Like, you can say Caleb Williams has been disappointing, but Caleb Williams runs the offense, and you can see it and you can feel it and sense he's leading this team. J.J. McCarthy's not leading anything right now. He's flinging the ball all over the place. 16 for 32. That's 2 weeks in a row where he's barely at 50% completion rate. Until he gets better, this team is not going to have success. And it's really frustrating if you're a Justin Jefferson owner, because multiple times yesterday he was open and dude was throwing the ball 4 feet over his head. On the ground, Aaron Jones has taken over. Jordan Mason, much like the other side, Mason got in the end zone. So if you played Mason, I don't know why you would have, but if you did, you got 45 rushing yards and a touchdown. He also played like 10 snaps and had 6 touches. Aaron Jones, 19 touches. Nice to see him be a little more effective, 81 yards, but he is the clear running back with this team right now. Here's a comment from Nochka LKDFS. JJ played terrible outside of the last drive when the Bears were playing deep cover 2 and giving everything underneath. Yeah, and I mean, yeah. And again, he threw a touchdown pass to Addison with a minute left in the game. Like, he could have been a hero. Could have been. But even if he'd been a hero, he still didn't play a good football game. You're right about that. No chalk DFS. Boy, am I stupid. No chalk DFS. Let's move on because I look really stupid there. Okay. Yeah, I know, Angelo. I just got it. I'm really slow in the morning. Plus, I'm really bad at reading. Actually, I'm really good at reading. I'm just stupid. Okay, let's move on. Next game up, as we run through all the games here, which is what we do every Monday on the show. 1 hour of me just blasting and apparently being unable to read and making fun of myself. I appreciate you not holding it against me. There's a reason that they invented spell check. Again, it's so funny. I will say this too, and you probably have noticed it. I spent a lot of time, quick background for Ray, no one cares, but I spent a lot of time in school. For those people that know, I don't know, I've got a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. I was going to go get my PhD when I fell into fantasy sports, actually. I got an offer to be a full-time fantasy person a month before I was graduating with my master's. Anyway, I was in humanities, right? So all I did was give presentations and write reports. And so I taught classes as an undergrad. I actually taught classes and everything too. So I got very used to and accustomed to reading a note card or a sheet or whatever, but not reading what it says. So like this, like as I'm looking at No Chalk DFS, I really want to say as I'm reading it, J.J. McCarthy played terrible outside of the last drive when the Bears were playing deep cover 2 and giving everything underneath. That's what it says. What I really want to say is J.J. McCarthy played terrible because the Bears were playing deep cover 2, so he was throwing things underneath. I want to change the words because I know you can't read what you're looking at. So that's another problem with me when I'm trying to verbalize things like No Chalk DFS, is my brain just changes what I'm reading, because as I'm reading it out loud, it has to be different than what it is that I'm reading, if that makes any sense. Anyway, let's move on. Packers 27-20 over the Giants. Barely won this football game. They moved to 6-3-1. The Giants are 2-9. The Packers barely won a game against the Giants team that's not very good. And so the Packers are really looks like the shoulder injury that Love suffered yesterday is not a big deal. He went back to game action. Yeah, that's wild. And that's mind of Ray, right? So there you go. Packers, which actually is great because I fell into a career where that works. Hey, look at that. Jordan Love went for 174 and 2. Jordan Love throws everything off his back foot. I see that Angelo started Christian Watson, and great that you did. Romeo Dobbs had multiple drops, caught 4 balls for 53 yards. Christian Watson had 4 catches for 46 yards and 2 touchdowns. Let's be clear about that. That was the luckiest, possibly, might be exaggerating, but the luckiest 2 touchdown catch in NFL history. 2 touchdown game in NFL history. I am exaggerating. The touchdown pass from Willis when Love was out of the game was an absolutely brutally terrible decision by Willis. Running to his right, took the ball back a little to his left, past multiple defenders. Horrible decision that Watson caught for a touchdown. The second touchdown was a horrible decision by Jordan Love, who just flung the ball up into double coverage. It was a great catch by Watson. Good for him, bully for him. But both of Watson's touchdowns were on terrible decisions by the quarterback. Terrible decisions by the quarterback. So luckily that worked out. Watson, again, was the big producer, but he only saw 5 targets, only had 46 yards. One of the touchdowns from a backup quarterback. Neither of the touchdowns is a sustainable thing because, again, they were both terrible decisions by the quarterback. Jordan Love continuing just to throw balls up off his back foot, float passes. Like, his guys didn't help him dropping balls and everything. Okay. But Jordan Love, Jeff Manza said it a lot. The real problem they have here is the injury to Josh Jacobs. We don't know how much time Josh Jacobs is going to miss, or if any. We do know that yesterday he only touched the ball 7 times. Wilson, this is why you handcuff your running backs, especially in a scenario like the Packers, when they have one guy who basically dominates the backfield, where their offense basically runs through the backfield. Emmanuel Wilson yesterday, 40 yards on the ground, scored a touchdown, caught a pass. Wilson is going to be a priority pickup across the land. If Jacobs is out, we'll wait and see about that information. Doc, about Musgrave. Yeah, Jeff was very high on Musgrave. I wasn't as high on Musgrave. But the bottom line is, Fitzpatrick basically took over as the tight end in the second half. It wasn't even Musgrave who was on the field to running routes. Like, I don't know what happened with Musgrave. I never expected it to be this bad. 1 catch for a -1 yard, 2 targets. You can move on from Musgrave as your tight end. What we saw yesterday with Fitzpatrick, let's pull the information up here since it's got asked. Packers, if I can type, see, that's another problem. Typing when you're standing up on your keyboard being lower than it should be, because if it's the right height, you can see the screen. My screen's on the screen. So here's the information on that. Musgrave ran 10 routes on 19 snaps. Fitzpatrick ran 13 routes on 35 snaps. Oof. Eesh. Yeah. Ugh. On the other side of things, with the Giants, this is about what it was expected here. Here we go. Ian Rappaport, by the way, just reported that Josh Jacobs has a structurally sound knee. So the hope is that he will be able to play this week. So that's good news. Again, it's very early in the week. We'll continue to follow this. Since we're talking about this, Tyrod Taylor is going to start for the Jets. They have benched Justin Fields. Tyrod Taylor will get hurt in the next 1 or 2 games. And he won't do much anyway because this offense is bankrupt. Texan head coach D'Amico Ryans is saying that C.J. Stroud's status this week is uncertain. This is not good. I know that the Texans have a short week here, but now we're talking about weeks now with the head injury for C.J. Stroud. This is not good because Davis Mills has been fine, so they can theoretically give Stroud a little bit of time. But when you start talking about guys missing 2 or 3 weeks with a concussion, there's a very real possibility that this is going to extend out for C.J. Stroud. Just not, this is, and again, we say this a lot. I try not to even say it's a concussion. It's a brain injury. And a lot of people are very cavalier about this. I'm not. I've never suffered a head injury. All my sport playing, I never banged my head hard enough to, cause an injury. I didn't play football, so that's probably part of it. But I don't know. But head injuries for some people never, like some guys have a concussion, just one, and it bothers them for 20 years, bothers them the rest of their life. Like they can't, loud noises or bright lights so let's hope CJ Stroud's okay. But the fact the head coach is already coming out and saying we're not certain he's going to play this week, not great news for CJ Stroud. Back to the Giants. The Giants obviously have a guy with a head injury, Jackson Dart, out. Dart was on the sidelines, was there, part of the team and everything yesterday. It's unclear how many more starts Jameis Winston will or won't make. Ethan says here, I've had some minor concussions that were definitely worse than others, so I can only imagine how serious ones are. there's really no thing as a minor concussion. I know what you're saying, Ethan, right? You didn't black out, you didn't lose consciousness, you didn't forget that but they're none of them. And that's been the issue for years is that, oh yeah, so what? You don't remember the last 3 minutes, you're cool. But at least now they're trying, like the guys wear the double helmet thing and the spotters pull people off. So they're trying to be better about it at the NFL. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. Yeah, no chalk. It's this week. The report just came out. This week, he may not be able to play CJ Stroud. And if he doesn't play this week, start worrying about the IR. At least I would. Back to Jameis Winston. He threw an interception. He lost a fumble. Par for the course. He could have had 4 interceptions. Like he threw a bunch of just, he's Jameis Winston. He's chucking the ball around the field. Doesn't have Neighbors. Didn't have Slayton. Hodgins, who hadn't done anything all season, literally, caught 5 balls for 57 yards. Wendell Robinson did another Wendell Robinson crap 436 game, even though he had 9 targets. Theo Johnson, 3 for 36. Very traditional Theo Johnson effort without the touchdown. The real storyline here is the success on the ground. 2 rushing touchdowns for Devin Singletary. He didn't do much. He averaged 2.8 yards a carry. But he had 2 rushing touchdowns, which made him a usable piece if he made that decision. The lead back, the guy with more carries, the guy with more yards, the guy with almost twice as many yards per carry was Tyrone Tracy, 19 for 88. He also was heavily utilized as a pass catcher, 4 for 51 yards. He had 130 yards from scrimmage. Singletary scored the 2 touchdowns. And worse than that for Tracy is that Singletary had 17 touches. So it's a split backfield with both guys being heavily utilized. Tracy is back in the lead. Tracy should be the leader the rest of the way, but it's going to be very difficult for him to be anything other than a flex option if Singletary is that heavily involved, especially if the situation keeps that way at the goal line with Singletary. And you're totally right, Godfrey's. Hyatt was running, for those people that missed it on the interception, he ran into the end zone and then just stopped. Winston expected him to run out to the corner of the end zone, and the commentators even mentioned that's what the play dictates. Run. He didn't. He just ran and stopped. So that was on Hyatt completely. That was not. So the interception he did throw was actually not Winston's fault. But there were multiple passes he threw that weren't interceptions that were Winston's fault. The Bengals moved to 3-7 or fell to 3-7. The Steelers 34-12. Bengals stunk yesterday. Chase Brown is back in charge of the backfield. Sanjay Pirine didn't play because of injury. Taj Brooks was barely on the field. Brown is averaging about 80 rushing yards the last 4 games. He had 99 yesterday. He's actually caught, I think, 16 passes the last 2 games. Not doing anything with them. But since Flacco's taken over, he's averaging 80 yards on the ground. He's averaging 4 catches. Like he's back to being the guy we saw in the second half last year. So he's obviously usable every single week. Flacco, for his first game in 5 with the Bengals, didn't throw for 2 touchdown passes. Higgins, of course, scored a touchdown because he seems to do that every week. Big storyline here was that Jamar Chase had 3 catches for 30 yards. He had his 10 targets, didn't do anything. I think he had gone 6 consecutive games at 6 and 90 before this game yesterday. So massive disappointment there. There's also the league getting involved here because he and Jalen Ramsey was thrown out for punching him. Ramsey said that he was spit on by Chase. The video seems to suggest that he was spit. Chase did spit, but was it on or at or just spitting? This is concerning, right? We've seen guys, Carter in week 1, right? Got suspended a game for spitting. Well, he got thrown out of the game, so there it was that. But we'll have to watch with Chase. Like this, the league could potentially do something here. It's just not cool. Don't spit on people. Who are we? Like, don't be an animal. On the other side of things, Aaron Rodgers got that left wrist injury. More tests are being run. There is the potential that he could play this week. There's the potential that he might miss this week. Mason Rudolph, a capable backup, stepped in and statistically speaking was just fine. Ran the offense just like Aaron Rodgers. Didn't turn the ball over. Actually had a 119 QB rating. Performed very well. The big storyline there is what's going on in the backfield. Jaylen Warren, we heard the further support last week, but Jaylen Warren's going to beat our leader and all that kind of stuff. Warren hurt his ankle, was averaging 6 yards a carry, but he hurt his ankle, so we actually saw the youngster Johnson get involved with the storyline with Kenneth Gainwell. Like the last time when Warren was out, Gainwell had a huge game here. He only ran for 24 yards on the ground, but Gainwell caught 7 passes for 81 yards and 2 scores. That's a touchdown from each of the 2 quarterbacks. I have Gainwell, didn't play him. You have Gainwell, you didn't play him. If for some random, crazy, bizarro world reason you played Gainwell, boy, did you get a huge effort there. We'll have to wait and see what it really means long term, though, because obviously Warren's the leader if his ankle does indeed allow him to be so. We are getting news. I've seen it mentioned here. Falcons are placing Michael Penix on the injured reserve list with his knee. Again, to reiterate, that means at least 4 weeks. I'm not looking at the full reports. I don't know if that's the rest of the season. It very likely could be the rest of the season. Kirk Cousins takes over. The injury to Penix was weak. If you watch the video of the actual injury, I mean, that's a tackle that, in my opinion, that's a hit on a quarterback that happens 10 times a game. So I don't know if his knees are just like, because he's had knee issues going back for years. I don't know if he's just not capable of staying healthy. I'm really concerned about that at this point. But he's going on the injured reserve. They will get the situation led by CJ Stroud moving forward. Speaking of Houston, we talked earlier about Stroud and the uncertainty there. Houston won 16-13. Houston won this game on the final play of the game. Matthew Wright subbing for Kami Fairbairn, who was out, kicked a game-winning field goal. So the Texans moved to 5-5. Whew. Like the Titans are a bad football team, and they almost beat the Texans. So Texans squeak it out. On the offensive side of things, Davis Mills was fine, and he did what a backup quarterback should do, and that is not turn the ball over, which he didn't, and get the ball to his star receiver, which he did. 10 passes went Nico Collins' way. He caught 9 of them for 92 yards in the score. Jaden Higgins has really seen his role starting to grow here. We're starting to see Christian Kirk's role recede. We're seeing Hutchinson's role recede a little bit. Good news. Let's get Higgins. Let's get Newell involved. Marks is now the lead running back for this team. It's very clear. He's had 5 straight games with double-digit carry totals. He's not doing much, including yesterday. He averaged 2.4 yards a carry, and that's been an issue for the Texans. They're not really doing anything on the ground, right? They're struggling in that aspect of things. But Marks is clearly ahead of Chubb now, and he's starting to pull away. Chubb is starting to be a guy that, and great for Chubb. But yeah, it's a little bit difficult there. Marks is flex option. I mean, when you look at him, he had 19 touches yesterday. It's like, if you're going to touch the ball 15 to 20 times a week, which is kind of where he's at right now, he's a flex option, even if he's not doing much on a per touch basis. On the Titan side of things, I mean, my gosh, poor Calvin Ridley. Now, 1,000-yard seasons, millions of dollars. Okay. Played 1 snap, caught 1 pass, and broke his leg, and the season's over. Like, he's missed games with injury. He comes back, plays 1 snap. Cam Ward led a very strong fourth quarter drive that culminated in a touchdown pass with under 2 minutes left. Looked like he was going to win, send this game to overtime. But he played another very sporadic game yesterday. Tajay Spears led the team with 5 catches. Chega Okonkwo led with 56 yards. They got nothing there. On the ground, Pollard and Spears are basically in a draw right now. Spears seems to be the slight favorite in the fantasy space because of his involvement as a pass catcher. Yesterday, 5 catches. Pollard only caught 3, but you just can't be. There's nothing there with this offense. Like, nothing there. I saw earlier a comment, I think it was Angelo, who said you played Ricky Pearsall and you didn't do anything. Yeah, Ricky Pearsall yesterday was on the field the whole time. Ran all the routes in his first game back from injury after missing like 6 games. He was on the field the whole time and ran every route. He caught 1 pass for no yards. Like, he was not part of the offense. He was on the field, so I guess he wasn't part of the offense. Jawan Jennings had 6 targets, 454 yards. The big story in their pass catchers was obviously George Kittle, who welcomed back Brock Purdy with open arms. He caught 6 balls for 67 yards and 2 scores. The Niners scored on 8 of 11 possessions. Purdy had 3 touchdowns, threw for 200 yards, was extremely effective. McCaffrey had 2 rushing scores. One of the rushing scores was after Sky Moore got tackled after a 98-yard kick return. So McCaffrey basically just took it in the end zone. McCaffrey also scored a pass-catching touchdown, so he had 3 scores on the day. Did pull back his usage a little bit, McCaffrey, which was nice to see if you're a Niner fan or if you're an owner of McCaffrey. But why is McCaffrey, with 5 minutes left in the game like this, even on the field to get that touchdown reception? They could have utilized him even less yesterday. But the bottom line is the Niners scored 41 points. They moved to 7-4. The Cardinals fall to 3-7. They had 22 points. They were in catch-up mode. The Niners jumped out to a 13-0 lead. It was at 19-7. It was 25-10 at halftime. The game was over at halftime. But what we got to see on the Cardinal side of things were a couple of interesting things. One, Amari DiMercato hurt his ankle, so yeah. Michael Carter was involved then. Zonovan Knight was involved. He had 5 carries for 24 yards and a touchdown. He also had a 59-yard touchdown called back on a penalty, so he would have had a big game. Instead, it was just a touchdown game. Jacoby Brissett chucked the ball a lot to running back. 7 targets to Carter, 4 targets to Knight, 3 to DeMarcado. That's 14 targets to the running backs. He threw a total of 57 passes, and you probably heard this, but he set an all-time, ever, NFL record with 47 completions. Oh, yeah. Jacoby Brissett, 47 for 57. 80% completion percentage with an NFL record for 452 yards and 2 touchdowns. Michael Wilson, who I mentioned earlier, 15 catches for 185 yards with a massive game. Now, this is really interesting. Game flow, game situation, all these kind of things play into this. But obviously, he would be tasked to take over for Harrison. Greg Dortch, who caught 6 for 66 and a touchdown, was a terrific fantasy play if you went in that direction, though Wilson should have been your priority ad. And he did have 18 targets, 15 of them catches, 185 yards. Wilson's the bigger, bulkier guy. We don't have to manufacture underneath looks like we do with Dortch. Wilson did things that Harrison doesn't do. And not that Harrison can't do those things. My point is that when Harrison's on the field, they're not throwing the ball this many times to him. He's not going for 185 yards or 15 catches. He's catching 4 balls for 62 yards. So you wonder, why can't they get Harrison involved like this? Now, they're not going to throw it 57 times ever, but you get the point. Trey McBride, 10 for 115 and a touchdown. He was feisty all game, getting penalties and all that kind of stuff, but he had another huge game there, and that's what happened in that one. Seattle fell to the Rams 21-19. Ghosts. Sam Darnold saw ghosts. He threw 4 picks. The bad Sam Darnold return yesterday, the Rams befuddled him. He made horrible decisions and made terrible passes. Threw for 279 yards, and they had a chance to win this game late, but the Rams still emerged victorious. The Seahawks go to 7-3. The Rams move to 8-2. Again, the Niners 7-4. The NFC West is a banging division right now. Walker finally got in the end zone, 16 for 67 and a touchdown. Charbonnet did nothing, 3.4 yards a carry, ran for 37 yards. He had 47 yards of offense, 110 yards for Walker. Another game, another situation with shared touches, despite Walker being more productive. JSN still had 9 for 105. Interestingly enough, AJ Barner, 10 catches for 70 yards. Now, when you're playing a good defense like the Rams, when you're throwing interceptions all over the place, security blanket tight end thing, okay. But Barner clearly is the number 1 tight end for this team. Arroyo's around, but not really a thing. Barner is in place. Like if you're in the Luke Musgrave zone, Barner's not a bad pivot. The problem is that Barner caught 10 balls for 70 yards. So on the waiver wire, it's going to be too costly probably. So you're probably going to have to go with David Njoku or Nick Fannin or something like that. But bottom line is Barner had a huge game yesterday. On the Rams side of things, and Jeff said this last night in his TikTok video. 1 second. How'd that Blake Corum thing go, everybody? I still don't know why. People are still, Blake Corum is in a 50-50 timeshare. That Kyren Williams is not the lead back here. Jeff even got someone yesterday on social media who came at him. He got him pretty good. He'll probably tell that story later. But Kyren Williams, 12 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Blake Corum had 10 touches. Blake Corum, 10 touches, 5 yards, as we've discussed here on the show. If you need 5 fantasy points, go with Blake Corum. Didn't even do that yesterday. Puka Nacua had 7 catches for 75 yards. I don't know why they're giving him handoffs with his injury situation. Matthew Stafford threw for 2 touchdown passes, but he only threw for 130 yards. One of the wildest stat lines you will ever see in your entire life. Davante Adams scored his touchdown, as he always does. 1 catch, 1 yard, 1 touchdown for Davante Adams. That's it. 8 targets led to 1 yard, but it was a touchdown. The Rams, for the 4th consecutive game, used 3 tight end sets, 13 personnel, at least 36% of the time. That's a bonkers high rate. So the good news is it's all Nacua, it's all Adams, and that's it. You know exactly who's catching the passes. Everyone else is getting 2 or 3 targets, and none of them are usable in the fantasy space. Baltimore defeated Cleveland 23-16. The Ravens did not. Hey, look at this. The tech is working today. Maybe we figured it out. As I say that, it'll probably have an appearance of the vent over my shoulder. The Ravens, they won a game. They moved to 5-5, but they started. They were down at halftime, 10-16. They were down 10-16 at the start of the fourth quarter. So they, pulled this out late. The winning play was a Mark Andrews touchdown run, 35 yards. What happened? They thought he was going to go up the middle. They ran Wildcat. He was under center. They thought it was going to be a tush-push scenario. And he looped outside and was untouched for 35-yard touchdown. So maybe they've been setting it up. We all wondered, why is Mark Andrews getting all these Wildcat touches? Like, what's the point? Maybe it was just for a play like yesterday where everyone assumed he was going to ram it up inside, and instead he went outside and ran for 35-yard game-winning touchdown with under 3 minutes left in the game. Hey, he won a football game yesterday. Lamar Jackson didn't do anything. He's got the knee issue, didn't look appreciably limited, but 2 interceptions, didn't do anything, didn't throw for 200 yards, ran for 10 yards. Like, it was a really bad effort for him from a fantasy perspective. Andrews saved his day because he only had 33 yards or 32 yards receiving. He saved his day with the rushing touchdown. Zay Flowers, 3 for 78. He gave you his normal 11 points and didn't do anything else. Derrick Henry, 103 yards and a touchdown, so he was fine. Interestingly enough, both Mitchell and Alley had goal line goal line snaps. Why is Derrick Henry losing goal line snaps to Ali and Mitchell? Just weird. It doesn't make any sense at all. On the Brown side of things, Quinshon Judkins, 17 carries, good. 59 yards, disappointing. But again, it's the Ravens defense much better here of late. The real issue for obviously the Cowboys, the Browns, is who's going to be their quarterback. Cowboys play tonight. Who's going to be the quarterback? Dylan Gabriel had a head injury. Uncertain how long he's going to be out on the sidelines. He threw 10 passes for 68 yards. Shedeur Sanders made his NFL debut. He came in and threw 47 yards on 16 passes and did not perform well. 4 for 16, threw an interception, made some bad decisions. Like, ugh. Could we actually see Deshaun Watson later this year? Ugh, I don't know. No one can be trusted in this passing attack when you have 2 rookie quarterbacks splitting work against a surging defense. Yeah, it's not that surprising it didn't work out. Kansas City falls to 5-5 as the Broncos take a stranglehold on the division, moving to 9-2. The Broncos won this game 22-19. They also won the game on the final play with Will Lutz kicking a field goal. Chiefs are still absolutely in the playoff mix, but they're not in the playoffs as it started today. They're 5-5. I don't know what they're doing in the backfield. They don't really know what they're doing. This is really Kareem Hunt played almost every snap. He got every carry for a running back. We saw 2 passes caught by Brashad Smith. We saw a target to Elijah Mitchell. But if Kareem Hunt's your starting running back like he is, you're in trouble. And he scored 19 points and lost the football game. He had a touchdown on the ground, but he gets what's blocked, and that's it. I mean, I'm not faster than him, but some of you out there might be faster than him at this point in his career. I don't know. Patrick Mahomes went for 276 and 1. Travis Kelce with a huge game. Kelce really coming on here the last few games after a slow start to the season. 9 for 91 and 1. With the team being 5-5 and all the thoughts of, hey, we'll save Kelce for the playoffs. You got to get to the playoffs. So games like yesterday where Kelce's heavily involved as a pass catcher are probably going to be the norm here moving forward. They've got to win. They got to win. They have to win every game, but I mean, I guess theoretically they could lose 2 games. They go 10-7 to make the playoffs, probably. Right? So that's only 2 more losses the rest of the way. Rashee Rice was fine because he had 6 catches, but they had to manufacture stuff for him. It was only 38 yards. Denver's defense is really good. They played a very good football game yesterday. They pressured Mahomes. They forced him into an interception. They caused problems. Like, they did a very good job here, and the price was paid by the Chiefs. Other than Kelce, no one stepped forward here. Rice he got 9.8 points in a PPR. Worthy doesn't have a very good connection with Mahomes. He had 25 yards. Noah Gray didn't do anything. Brashad Smith didn't do anything. Mahomes didn't do anything. He ran for 3 yards yesterday. On the other side of things, Bo Nix. Bo Nix has really been interesting. Great plays at times, befuddling plays at times. Leads 10-play drives, then can't. Then it's 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. He's all over the place. Didn't do anything from a statistical point of view. No touchdowns produced yesterday. RJ Harvey led the team as expected in carries. Led the team as expected in rushing yards. 11 for 30 is bad. As a pass catcher, 3 catches for 20 yards. So he gave 50 yards of offense and no touchdowns. So he actually gave a worse fantasy performance than he did when he was the backup to J.K. Dobbins, which is terribly disappointing. What's also vexing is why Jaleel McLaughlin is getting a 4-yard touchdown run. Why is it him and not Harvey? And why is McLaughlin, who literally played 8 snaps, touching the ball 7 times on his 8 snaps? And this was the worry with Harvey. We said it all last week. What is Sean Payton going to do? It was Harvey for the majority of the touches. It was Harvey for the majority of the snaps. And then inside the 5-yard line, they gave the ball to Jaleel McLaughlin. Franklin, 4 for 84, led the way. Pat Bryant's intriguing. 5 catches for 82 yards. A couple of big plays yesterday, including a 48-yard reception. On the field an awful lot. Pickup, he's still clearly no better than the third option at the wide receiver spot. Then you've got Ingram and the guys out of the backfield. So cautious optimism with Pat Bryant. But finally, remember he was going to be Michael Thomas? Maybe he's finally starting that ascension. And then finally, the last game, the Sunday Night Football game, Eagles moved to 8-2. The Lions fall to 6-4. Are the Lions out of the playoffs right now? I think they are. If the playoffs started today, the Lions wouldn't be in the playoffs. The game was affected by weather last night, the wind, 16-9. The Eagles won another football game where they didn't do jack all, but they won the football game. Many games this season. Goff has thrown for 250 yards with a 70% completion percentage. Last night he was 14 for 37, which is horrendous. St. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 12 targets, 2 catches for 42 yards. Horrendous. Jamal Williams, hey, look. Williams had 4 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. So that's, what is that, 3 or 4 games, 4 or 5 games, something. He's really starting, we got Dan Campbell calling plays, and here we go. So Williams has really started the last month here to show consistency, something he hasn't shown previously this season and struggled with last year, even though he had 1,000 receiving yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown will absolutely snap back next game, but 2 catches on 12 targets. Woof. On the ground, nothing here. The Eagles held both Gibbs and Montgomery to under 40 rushing yards apiece. Gibbs did have 100 receiving yards, so 5 for 100 yards there, 107. So he did enough there, so it wasn't a bust effort for him in a fantasy space, but it wasn't a good game. Touchdown goes to Williams, as I mentioned, and then Brock Wright, 2 catches for 8 yards, and replacing Laporta, who went from being fine to having a back issue to being placed on the IR, almost record speed. On the Eagles side of things, Devonta Smith, who couldn't lose, lost 1 catch for 8 yards. The leader in pass catching was A.J. Brown, 11 targets, 7 catches, 49 yards, a very moderate, usable game, but a very moderate game for him. Dallas Goedert didn't get in the end zone. He doesn't catch more than 4 passes, so he's not getting in the end zone. Another one of those, 2 for 24 yesterday. Tank Bigsby was very effective in limited work. He averaged almost 9 yards a carry. Saquon Barkley led the offense, as he always does in touches. Barkley had 27 touches for 90 yards. Lost a touchdown that ended up going to Jalen Hurts on a 1-yard run. He got stopped near the goal line. They did the tush push. So Barkley is going to be a running back 1 because of sheer volume. But his production is miles from where it was last season. All right, before we cut out here, look at this. Titans style, Eagles defense is top 5 all time. I've never seen a better defense in my own eyes. That's high praise. They played a really good football game last night, and they got a lot of weapons. And, Carter, who we mentioned earlier in the show, is a big piece of that. Godfrey said, Eagles gave Goff nightmares. Absolutely true. Titan Style is asking again, Jacoby Brissett or Brock Purdy for this week. Can't tell you yet. It's Monday. I have not even come close to breaking down the matchups. We'll start talking about that tomorrow when we do some waiver wire look at players. But you have to come back with us, Titans. And by the way, I don't take start sits until Wednesday, and we don't start looking at the waiver wire until Tuesday. Yes, I do take questions. There we go. You have no power here. Where's the vent? Yeah, the vent is. The tech is working today, so maybe I finally got the mix between what we need from the Microsoft app and Logitech camera. For those that missed it, Microsoft updated. I no longer control my Logitech camera through Logitech. I have to use the Microsoft app. It's a whole mess. Maybe we got it figured out here. Looking through things. Doc said, I'm so glad I picked up Wilson and flexed him instead of Spears because I was desperate. Yeah, that absolutely worked out. Huge advantage there. I'm looking here just to see if I missed anything. Anyone asked a question or saw a comment? Yeah, a lot to talk about Penix, who has been indeed placed on the injured list. He's going to miss a minimum of 4 weeks. Yeah, and so there we go. Well done. Well done right here. Tech prowess is increasing. It is. Look at me. Look at me. By the way, before we shut things down here, MVP plan is available at fantasyguru.com. Everything we do besides football and baseball. One package. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. Send that email to support at fantasyguru.com. That's MMA, PGA, NASCAR, horse racing, basketball, hockey, all of that in the MVP plan over at fantasyguru.com. And then the all-in football package the rest of the season, seasonal, DFS, wagering, all three, one price. College, NFL, both of them, one price. Every article for football, every Discord room for football, every live stream for football, every podcast for football, all the rankings, all the weekly articles, all the projections. Right now, support at fantasyguru.com. All right. So that's been our Monday. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be back again tomorrow. We'll talk with Armando Marsal tomorrow about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll be here at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We'll review Monday Night Football, what went down there. We'll talk a little bit about the waiver wire and some early Week 11 storylines. Thanks for being with us today. Tell a friend, pass the word on, all that kind of stuff. And as Seaweed Dog says, VIP Platinum is the way to go. Yes, you can do VIP Platinum. We'll get you everything for every sport, everything we do, all year round. Send an email to support at fantasyguru.com. You won't miss a thing. You'll never have to say, do I get access to that? The all-in Platinum VIP package gets you everything over at fantasyguru.com. You all have a great day too. Appreciate you all. Have a good one. We'll see you back here again, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tomorrow on Tuesday. Don't forget, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio is the Elite Sports Show. An hour from now, Jeff Mans will spend 3 hours doing what we just spent 1 hour doing here on the show. I'm Ray Flowers. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.